I was reading the comments this morning, and I just had someone who commented, like, "Have you ever thought about doing a Han Solo or Star Wars style blaster?" And I thought that's pretty funny. I just finished making kind of a Star Wars inspired or Star Wars theme type style blaster, and I actually have another one I made. I haven't published yet too. That's called an E22, which I guess is similar. Was based off of something on Star Wars, and of course I had to modify it to make it work. But this definitely has that type of look to it. I don't believe that's how it started. I'm not sure. The initial design piece that I started with was kind of this top piece, and that actually of the handguard here, and this actually was part of a model that was for uh, a pistol style gel blaster or to go inside of, like a Glock style would kind of sit in the middle here, and then you'd have some back end off the back of it, and then obviously the barrel off the front. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to see if I could use this to kind of incorporate into an M4 build, because I really like building off these M4s and because I have a bunch of them to use. So that's the reason there. And so I took that piece and kind of took the inspiration from that piece. And some of the other things I incorporated is it did have kind of a handle like this. Obviously, it looked a little different, so I incorporated that too. Now, when I first printed it or started to print it, I was planning on it being just a stock deleted, kind of almost more pistol style, because that's kind of where the inspiration came from. But after printing it and seeing how big it was, I thought, oh, this just looks too heavy on the end. We need to do something over here. So that's when I added the stock. So actually, we do have a battery reload, and the battery is down here in the tube. So this just twists off, and that's where your battery goes, right? So you got plenty of room in there for a battery. And of course, this receiver started life as an EMERBU. So it's got metal gears, it's got upgraded motor, and upgraded spring, which I even upgraded to an M95. So it should be consistently in that 290 to 300 FPS range, which is pretty cool. And then it's got a metal inner barrel. And the metal barrel does come right to the tip of the red there. So no threaded tip on this, just because I didn't think it really went with it. But you see what I did, since the metal barrel was going to stick out here, I thought let's kind of repeat this design in this inner outer barrel, right? That's inside the handguard. So we did that there, added some rails on the side, just kind of added this top pattern piece here, more for looks than anything. It doesn't really need any more stability. You can lift by the handle, but I still probably wouldn't do it often. I mean, they're deep screws, but again, I think it's more just for looks and for having the rail there. I did paint out the receiver and everything on this one because I wanted to incorporate, this is actually supposed to be a gray, but obviously it's an almost white gray. But those were the colors I wanted to go with, was like this slate, a gray, and then this darker gray too, right? Now, one thing I will say is you certainly can paint all these pieces, but when you start painting everything, paint builds up and movement of those. So like the mag release, you got to push pretty hard because it has paint on it, and it definitely still works. And same with like your primer. You got to pull it back, and it's just the paint always ends up really, kind of inhibiting the movement of those pieces. So that's why on most of these, you'll see I won't paint like the charge handle. I won't paint the mag release. I won't paint the shot selection. Static pieces like this don't matter. You can go ahead and paint those. That's no issue. So when we're talking about the stock, I wanted to, again, just kind of, this was just an idea in my head of what I wanted to do. Since the stock wasn't going to have the battery, and since I wanted this to be kind of compact, I was going to go with a shorter, smaller kind of stock. But I thought it was cool, and it kind of gives it that futuristic type vibe where the stock comes around and connects, below the grip. So I've worked with a stock before that had this look to it, right? So I took that stock and I chopped it basically in software, and so that it would be the size I was looking for. because this is connected up here, I didn't do any sort of, heat inserts or rivet nuts to attach down here because that seemed like overkill. It's not really necessary. Certainly could have. It's just a lot more work for me to line all that up and make that look good. So I got that kind of base outline of what I wanted to do there. Again, I have plenty of these extra buffer tubes, so I didn't have an issue with just cutting one of those. That was much easier than like printing a threaded, receiver and then making a small threaded buffer tube. I found the back side of a stock, that's where this design comes from, that was actually like a Nerf stock. So I took that, I had to manipulate it, I made it longer because I kind of wanted to, again, give it that future vibe. And then to tie in some more of this color and to add a little grip to the back, I went ahead and found this piece from, again, a different stock, cut it, stretched it so that it just kind of goes the length of the middle of the stock there because I thought that was a cool idea. So that's kind of a pretty in-depth rundown of how I get my ideas, because that gets asked of me a lot too. A lot of times I'm inspired by one 3D file I find, and then I have to modify it to work with the Gel Blaster. And sometimes that can be a lot of modifying. Sometimes it can be just a little. It just depends. And then I kind of go off of that and just my imagination or what I think would go well with it. So again, this was, Star Wars, space, galactic, whatever, inspired. And, really this first piece there is kind of what I went off of to make the rest of it. And just, that's it. This is kind of my one creative outlet. So it's kind of dorky, but again, I've always said I kind of look at it as art. And these are the different artworks I create, which my wife thinks is funny too. So there you go. I guess we'll call it Star Wars inspired or Star Wars style. I'm never quite sure if I'm allowed to use that name in the title or not. But again, being that it's not anything I'm selling or anything, it shouldn't be an issue. So let me know what you guys think. It's a pretty long video, but again, it was a pretty in-depth build, and I didn't do the whole build video where I showed you all the pieces beforehand. So we'll do a demo, of course. We'll do some FPS tests. I've done some preliminary ones, and I'm pretty happy with where it's at. Thanks for your support. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share with your friends.